Welcome, everybody. This is a What's Up For You call, and it is February 13th, 2024. So before we get started with the questions, if you haven't already, go ahead and put those in the chat box, and Sharon will offer those out to me today. Before we get going there, let me just check in and kind of see if there's anything to share. Other than the fact that this energy right now is really ramped up, and it's, again, I keep seeing it as it's almost like the closer that we get to landing, sometimes the more intensified some of the energy can feel. And so whatever's going on for, each and every one of us, over these days, I'm going to take it back to a little bit of love, compassion, understanding, being easy on ourselves, getting to a place of response before we take action so that we're not reacting. Yeah, letting that energy kind of settle before we get into any kind of before we take an action, going back to that still spot, still point. Yeah, as we've been talking about in the New World Portal, if you're there. So, so what do you have for me, Sharon?
All right, this first question is, my daughter's stressed at school where she can't focus and is failing behind with her work. She feels she has ADHD and is looking for help with it. What would be the best approach for her, and what does she need for school to help her? Is there anything she needs physically, mentally, and emotionally with this?
A couple different things going on here. One, as you've heard me say before, energetically sensitive kids are picking up the information of everybody in the environment. So, we have to keep having these conversations with these kids about the fact that what they are feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally is not just theirs. Because what ends up happening is they feel these feelings and feel these anxieties and stresses and depressions and all this other stuff through their body. But what makes that even more challenging is then they think that that is them and them alone. And so we really want to shift this to being a capacity versus being a challenge. So a lot of conversation about her ability to pick up information from those around her. And as she's picking up that information from those around her, you might even suggest to her that she, again, has a little love and compassion for herself, maybe even has a little love and compassion for those people that she's picking up that energy for. Yeah. Because then it shifts it back over to being a capacity versus a detriment. The other thing that I will say is there is also something going on here. I think that she hasn't maybe fully disclosed, nothing horrible or anything like that, but I feel like that there is a discord or something like that that is at school or away from home that she's trying to manage. It's almost like between her and a friend or between her and a teacher, where she's trying to manage this discord, and that really has her attention. And as it has her attention, it kind of lowers her frequency a bit. So I would also just encourage her to have any conversations that she might be willing to have about any discord. And again, for her, sometimes she can feel like it's all her fault, and so we really want to be very clear that any discord that she might feel between herself and someone else, or any discord that she feels within herself because she's picking up other people's energy. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. It's something for her to learn how to navigate, but it's absolutely not her fault. And the more she knows that, the more open she is with her, yeah, the more open she is with her, I'll say, compassion, towards herself, towards others. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful.
All right, this next question is, my son frequently loses his mind-body connection, and then he constantly moves, runs, jumps, laughs, and shouts mindlessly. He even had an elbow fracture due to this last month. I have observed that he is very much energy sensitive, and I want to understand if this is happening due to some negative energy in our environment that is not allowing his mind-body connection to establish properly. She feels so, and she's also saying my son's maternal grandmother is an energy vampire and a mentally imbalanced person. He spent so much time with her till now. I've recently understood about his energy sensitivities, and now I have reduced his time with his grandmother drastically. Is my son's grandmother draining his energy?
Good question. I think you already know the answer, but based on just everything you shared. So, eh, yeah, yeah, pretty much. So, and again, eh, what I want us to be is, on the one hand, we want to understand that there are all kinds of people, consciously and unconsciously, that drain other people's energy all the time, right? It's like, and I also I want us to be mindful that when people do that consciously or unconsciously, in either case, they're really playing that kind of game because they don't know who they are. They don't know the capacity that they are, right? And so again, there's how do I want to say this? Hold on a second. So you already spoke to this when you said that you were backing off on the time that your son has with his grandmother. So you're recognizing that is a propensity within this individual to kind of drain energy. So, and you're taking mindful action regarding that. Yep. So that's great. And on the other hand, we can also, instead of making anybody quote unquote wrong for that, we can also have a little bit of compassion for the fact that this person, this individual, feels that is something that is needed or necessary. Hold on a second. Hold on. So this grandparent is also being kind of, how do I say, if you have a lot of lower frequency energy that you live with on a regular basis, heaviness, depression, shame, blame, guilt, that kind of energy, if we're projecting that out all the time, very often that is because we don't know who we are in truth, right? And this grandparent seems to be doing quite a bit of that and seems to not know who she is in truth. And then comes along someone like your son who's very energetically full, you might say. And so consciously or unconsciously, she's pulling that energy. The other thing is when we live in those lower frequency bands, we also have a tendency to attract all kinds of energy that love lower frequencies. So there's a lot of energy that is perpetuating for her. It's not her fault either. It's like she's been living in some of these lower frequency bands. Those other energies that love that energy come around and almost, I would almost say that's the energy that's siphoning off, more so than her and her soul. It's more like what's coming through her. So any way in which you can support a little bit of lightness of being for this woman, anywhere where you can, show her some kindness, show her some, you know, have a giggle with her. Anything that even lightens it like one iota will help to dismantle those other energies that are kind of swarming around, because those other energies are the ones that are really more after the energy of your son than his grandmother is. She's just playing in a low enough frequency band to interface with that energy. So let me see. I'm going to clear her out a little bit if you don't mind. So give everybody a little bit of a break. So we're just bringing in just a little lightness of being. It can literally be from moving from depression to kind of, some degree of acceptance. It can be one little movement, but that'll be enough. There we go. That'll be enough to move that energy up and off and give her a little bit of time to feel the difference. Because if she has time to feel the difference, she'll choose differently. Let's keep moving it along. Okay. I'll say too, there's some sadness there for her. And I think that's where all this other stuff is. So, if she's sad, we're going to have some compassion for that sadness. Instead of meeting, nobody deserves sadness, right? Nobody deserves depression. Nobody deserves any of these things. So let's let that play out. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
To dovetail on that, I just had someone ask, how do they protect themselves from energy vampires or that kind of frequency?
A parent teaches a child how to protect themselves from energy vampires by keeping their frequency high. So, and that doesn't mean that we don't feel sad or depressed or heavy, or it doesn't mean that. It means that when we feel sad, heavy, depressed, whatever those like lower energies are, that we meet ourselves with some love and compassion so that we boost that back up. What you don't want to do is just say that doesn't exist and stuff it. Because if you say that doesn't exist and stuff it, then it's percolating down in the unconscious and it's still there. It has to be met. And every parent teaches their child vibrationally how to navigate the world. Every parent, every one of us, no matter who our kids are, we've taught our kids how to navigate the world through the way we have. I mean, I have two daughters who have high anxiety, right? Well, when I was younger and having them, I had high anxiety. So of course I taught them how to navigate the world vibrationally because I was having anxiety. And so it's, again, it's not a blame or shame game about us as parents either. It's literally, oh, okay, I know better, so I do better. And as I do better, then in my case, my daughters are like, oh, I'm learning how to navigate that anxiety, right? Yeah. So yeah, we ward off those energetic vampires, if you will, by yeah, being light. Yeah. I will say too, the lighter you are, the easier it is to pick up subtle discrepancies or subtle pulls on your energy. And so this isn't kind of like a one-stop shop. This isn't like something that you do once and you're all, it literally, we are all evolving. And as we evolve into lighter and lighter beings, we are going to be privy to the ways in which other people interact with our field. And if the way they interact with our field is heavier, let's say, than where our field might be at that point, then again, it's just something to be aware of and to choose to have compassion for. Because the moment we go into blame, shame, guilt, we just lower our vibration all over again. And then we got to start to climb that ladder again, that vibrational ladder. So, yeah, hope that love really is the answer, guys. It's like, and it's hard, it's like, it's hard sometimes to get to that place, especially when we're triggered or when we're in defense. But really getting into that higher vibrational field really negates so much of the challenges that we're facing in those lower fields. So, all right.
This question is, hi Suzy, is my pup part of the Awesomism collective? Feels like she is here in dog form from the 5D to support my son. Also, I named her after his twin who chose not to come in with him at this time. I know for some it may seem like an odd question, but
Doesn't seem like an odd question at all. And, again, it's like so many, just like so many people perceive that because the kids function differently than, a quote unquote typical, neurotypical kind of human, that somehow they don't have capacity, right? Same thing with animals. I mean, just because they don't talk or they don't interact the way that a human interacts, somehow they're lesser than. My Howard's looking at me like, what are you going to say next? Yeah. So, and it's just not true. I mean, again, that level of unconditional love that an animal provides is, I mean, that's why they're so healing to us. That's why they work so well with energetically sensitive kids, whether it be a horse or a dog or a cat or any that, and you might even say that silent, that non-verbal exchange of love is hugely powerful. So part of this collective, absolutely. Part of, I mean, again, we're being invited constantly to see everything, everyone, every species, you might say, as something that we are in relationship to. And everything, every single species, you might say, is contributing and has a challenge, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I love that, and I don't think it's by accident that you named this pup after, the twin that decided to not show up, because again, did that twin show up, but just in a different form? Did that soul come in a way that that interface could be as deep as it could possibly be? So yeah, very cool. Thank you.
This next question is, we had to start anxiety medicines for our son due to an autoimmune condition, resulting in intense anxiety. How can we help him with his healing? We are regulated, follow spiritual practices, but seeing him struggle affects us, and we want to help him in other ways to accelerate his healing.
So I just want one clarification. So the way it sounded was he went on anxiety meds due to the autoimmune issue. And then it also sounded like he has anxiety due to the anxiety meds. So is that true, or is it he has anxiety and that's due to the autoimmune? The way I heard it was, that's why I kind of smiled for a second. I thought, wait, does he have anxiety due to the anxiety meds now, or?
Not due to the meds.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, so let me see here. So first, let's let the anxiety meds work for your son. Let's not make those wrong or bad, or again, we can have all kinds of preconceived ideas about what should or shouldn't be, that even we can have some preconceived ideas about what spiritual practice should or shouldn't be able to accomplish, right? So it's not really the practice, it's not really the meds, it's not really any of that. It's, are we allowing those experiences to work for us, or are we perceiving those experiences as detrimental? And therefore, they don't get to do what they're actually here to do for us. Yeah? Does that make sense? So first off, let's again, let's bless these meds. Thank God that they're available. Thank goodness that there's somebody that can um, help you all navigate that, whether that's a psychiatrist or someone else. So we're gonna bless that scenario, you might say. We're gonna appreciate the fact that that's available. Yep. And as we appreciate it more and more, what we might notice is that the appreciation energy then works with the medication. And then because the medication, you might say, is a entity or in and of itself, it then begins to kind of go, oh, I'm appreciated. Let me see how much I can help. Yeah. So I wish I had learned this one a long time ago myself. I've been on thyroid medication since I was 3 years old. Every time I try to get off of it, my body kind of goes, yeah, no, you really can't live without it. So you're going to keep going. So, and through so much of my life, I was really, especially once I had more of a spiritual practice, I I was so frustrated with that medication, right? So frustrated that I had to continue to take it. And and what I recognized is it wasn't the medication at all. It was my frustration with it. And once I started working with the frustration with it, then it naturally and organically, I'd go to the doctor and they go, okay, you're going to knock off half of the dosage, or you're going to do it again, you do it again. But again, if everything is energy and everything is vibrational, we have the opportunity to create an exchange with everything. And one of my mentors that just passed not too long ago, he used to say to me all the time, said, what would you like this medication to do for you? And yeah, and can we invite it to do that? And some medications will go, yep, nope, don't want to do that for you. They're not the right one for you. Other medications go, yes, I want to help. I want to help. How can I do that? Let's sync up. Yep. So that's that. The other thing I am going to say, and this is just to me at this point, this just goes hand in hand with anything else that we're doing for our kids. When our children have anxiety and when our children are overwhelmed, we naturally and organically become anxious and overwhelmed ourselves, as parents. I mean, that's just natural. What isn't so common, however, is for that parent to kind of really take a good look at, really support themselves in their own feelings, in their own anxiety. This is where, that whole presence process conversation comes in over and over and over again. And it comes in over and over again because, again, if we will address where we have anxiety or overwhelm or stress or these kinds of things, if we'll address that with some degree of compassion or breath work or whatever works for us, we'll naturally start to regulate our own bodies, which is then sending out a vibrational message to our kids that you can regulate your body too. Yeah. Yeah. So use the medication as a buffer, a bit of a time, where one, we're asking the medication to work for us. And two, we're also going to address whatever might be coming up for us as parents when our kids are in whatever state they're in, so that we can reorganize or rewire what we're broadcasting out. Yeah.
Whenever our son has self-injurious incidents or meltdowns, our past where he was severely in pain is invoked in us, and we are unable to see the present incident as an isolated one and process. We still carry our past. How can we heal from the past experience, and how can we learn to not carry the past?
The Presence Process by Michael Brown. It's like, it honestly, I know it's one of those books, I swear, anytime anybody says, read this book, it's like, okay, I'll get to it. And you guys are all very busy parents. You're 24/7 in the depths of all kinds of things. And it does take the presence process, if you do the process, does take time. It does, and it's not always comfortable time. So I get it. I'm going to keep pushing it, just because I know the benefits of it. But one of the things that, if we want to shorten it down a little bit, what I tell people in the mentorship, what I tell people in the integration series, what we practice over and over and over again in both of those processes is a simple version of that, which is basically everything that triggers us is for us. And it's for us because it's bringing up something that is, has yet to be integrated. And so for me, when I'm triggered, a lot of times I'll just ask myself, we can ask questions from a couple different vantage points. How old is the one that's feeling that feeling? What am I feeling? Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm anxious, or I'm angry, or I'm, whatever the energy is, just name it. How old is the one that feels that way? Yeah. And very often, for those of you who don't think that you're clairaudient or that kind of thing, whatever number comes up is absolutely fine. Just use that one, right? Because the moment you hear again that the one within you that is feeling that feeling is 5, you'll naturally have a little bit more compassion for yourself than if you think you're an adult woman or man trying to deal with that emotion, right? The adult woman or man goes, I'm an adult woman or man. Why am I feeling like that, right? Why can't I handle that? Well, it's not the adult that can't process that, it's the child, right? The other thing is is that when we have a child who is self-injurious, again, we can look at the age of that child and we can say, well, how was I at that age? Was there any way in which I was injuring myself at that age? And that doesn't mean that you had to be biting your skin till it was bleeding or banging your head up against a wall. It means that, you know, it gives us a reference point. Say the child is, 12, 15, whatever. Okay, so how was I self-injurious at 12 or 15? Or how was someone else injuring me when I was that age? Just asking those questions puts a connection point to this now moment and a past trauma point. And the moment that you put those two together, that it's just like EMDR, it zeroes it out. You don't have to psychoanalyze yourself. You don't have to go into the whys. You don't have to go into the blame or shame about other people who might have been involved. None of that. All we're doing is we're trying to say, here's the trigger, and this is where the trigger belongs. The trigger actually doesn't belong to this moment. It belongs to another moment. And once those two get connected, it zeroes each other out. And I cannot tell you, over the last 30 years of my working with all kinds of different parents, I cannot tell you how often I have seen that one tool just zero out, literally, in the child we're looking at, that kind of aggressive behavior. Yeah. One of the trickiest things is most parents make themselves wrong for that behavior, or not being able to figure out that behavior, or not being able to stop that behavior. That energy of blame, shame, guilt wraps around that trauma and tightens it up instead of loosening it up. So it does us no good whatsoever to go into blame, shame, or guilt. What does amazing, amazing transformations over and over is, how does that relate to something else? And when those two go together, then I've seen amazing things happen just asking those kinds of questions. So
It seems I have been going on through a huge purge so intense that I really don't want to live, feeling like my life will never change for the better. Was this indeed a purge, and what can I do to soften the process? Thank you.
number one, first, please know that you're not alone in that purging. This, as we have all of this light coming in right now, as we literally are beginning to embody more and more of who we are in truth. Basically, we could see that as high frequencies of light interfacing with our old conditioning, right? That high frequency light is unity, unifying. The conditioning is that which has separated us from ourselves. So all this light's flooding in, flood, flood, flood. You're not going to stop that no matter how much you try. That's bigger than all of us. So that light's just coming in because it's time. And what it's doing is it's kicking up all of the ways in which you have been, or any of us have been, conditioned to be less than who we are in truth. And as that energy starts bubbling up, we feel it again. We feel that separation energy. We feel that, however whatever we were conditioned to believe about ourselves that was less than divine, quite frankly, that's all bubbling up. And so I would suggest that it's not you with a capital YU that doesn't want to survive this. I think it's the lowercase u that's saying, I'm not going to survive this. Yeah, which is true. All of those lower frequencies in all of us, in any of us, will not survive the waves of light that are coming in now. That does not mean that our physical bodies don't survive that. Yep. Obviously, we're human beings. We all have a shelf life, in this human form. But the fact is that what's what's moving right now is all of those denser energies. So to answer your question about how to support yourself in that, one, let's know that that's what's churning over. Two, let's, instead of analyzing anything that's churning over, churning up and out, we're going to let it go. We're going to let it go. We're going to thank it for being there. Thank you for, you know, helping me survive, and now I'm interested in thriving. Yep, now I'm aligning with this light that's coming through. So, and I'm just gonna keep going, keep going. So now when this energy comes up, I don't blame, shame, and guilt myself. I go, yep, there it goes. Let it go. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep moving. Yep. And then what you'll notice is as soon as you're aligned with that cycle, that energy will move out pretty quickly. So we can move some of it out quickly. So we're doing that now too. So as it moves a little bit more quickly and you get into that rhythm, what you're going to notice is that all of that heaviness, it kind of makes its way up and out. And at first you might feel like you're left with a bit of an emptiness. But please don't see that as a reason to be sad or negative, because quite frankly, that emptiness is like a reset button. That stillness is like a reset. So let's work with it. It's moving, it's moving, it's moving. Thank you for being there. Thank you for helping me survive. I'm now choosing thriving, and we're just going to keep moving that energy until we hit that still point. And once we hit that still point, we're going to be still so that everything resets. Yeah, you have a couple months, maybe even 3, of this energy moving through. It'll soften in that amount of time. So hang in there and meet what's coming up with as much love and compassion for yourself as you can, because it'll keep it in a higher frequency. So yeah, I hope that helps.
This question is, my baby is the best, and he is 3 years and 3 months old, and he is a very, very picky eater. Maybe eats 5 to 6 things. I'm always trying to find new ways for him to eat a variety of foods. He refuses to eat anything new, anything from my plate, even if it's the same food that he eats. I would love for him to just try any new foods. Is there anything I can do to encourage him to try and eat different foods? He was never on any restricted diets or anything like that. He always had a lot of sensory difficulties, though, but it's slowly improving. Thank you for everything you do.
He's so sweet. Hold on a second here. I'm just asking him directly. The first thing he says, honestly, is he says, I am 3 years, 3 months after all. It's like most 3-year-olds that I know have a fairly limited palate, you might say. And so that we might be associating that particular part of his experience with him being energetically sensitive. And what would happen if we took out that thought process for a moment? What would happen if we just kind of went, he's a lot like most 3-year-olds that have a fairly limited palate. Yeah. So let's just put that aside for a second, so that we're not making it about him being energetically sensitive. one of the things that happens when a child is energetically sensitive or is diagnosed on the spectrum or is diagnosed with anything is we end up making everything they do, we literally try to fit everything they're doing or not doing into this package of being that, right? So, and in this case anyway, it's not, this is a fairly typical kind of 3-year-old experience. So if we take out the energy of it's about that and put it more into the category of, a lot of 3-year-olds do that. That's normal. We take off some of the edge because it's more than just the food here. It's more than what he's eating or not eating, right? It's getting hooked into this bigger category of energetic sensitivity. So the fear also becomes bigger if this kid doesn't eat a variety of different things, he'll never grow, or he'll never, or what about, brain development? What about capacity? What about, it just gets it feels like it's a much bigger reality or condition. So that he can mention. Okay, so he's do you ever see like a 3-year-old just like he's like it's like he's patting these things away like energetically, which is really cute. I feel like I'm playing pat a cake with him. But so he's throwing these things back, going, okay, I'm three. So first, let's allow him that. Yeah. Okay. What if it's not? What if it's not about his energetic sensitivity at all? What if it's about him being 3? Now we just opened up some space. Vibrationally, we've opened up some space. And then the other thing I'm going to ask is for any of us as parents, when our kids are, when there's something we really want them to do and they're not doing it, one, what is it that we want them to do? What is it that means? Like, for instance, with food, like I said, oh my gosh, if they don't eat, they don't get healthy. And if they don't get healthy, then they don't grow. And then maybe they don't do well in school. And it becomes this whole loop, right? So in this scenario, we just created a bunch of new energetic space. He's 3. We'll give him some time. We'll invite him to other foods still, but not from a place of fear, worry, and concern, from a place of 3-year-olds are also extremely curious, right? That's kind of typical as well. So we're just opening a big energetic space. Yep, we're really enjoying our food. He might decide he wants to reach over and get something, which you might kind of go, no, he would never do that. Would he never do that because he's energetically sensitive? And that's what we put him in. See what I'm saying? We're opening up this space. The other thing I want you to look at is answer the question to yourself. Why is it that I want him to do this? Why is it that I want him to eat different things, right? I want him to do this so that whatever it is. And then take that same sentence, see what it says, and then turn it around and say it for yourself. I want him to do this so that I yeah. Or yeah. There we go. It already shifted. So just asking that question again gives us more self-awareness as to why certain things really make us anxious or bother us, and other things don't, yeah. So just ask yourself that question. It'll bring awareness, and we'll give them just a little bit of space still here. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But for the other, previous question, the mom is wondering how to help her son with mind-body connection.
Oh, I didn't answer that question, did I? So, well, yes, I did. But dediqueme a coca. So we help we help those around us with mind-body connection by being aware of our own, or lack thereof, of our own mind-body connection. And to me, what does mind and body mean? Every single one of us has a certain degree of trauma, drama, whatever it is in our lives. If you're a human being, you've had it. It's like, um, and so as the new generations come in and they become more and more sensitive to that trauma and drama, right? They do the same thing, or they reflect back to us the same thing. So when we have trauma and drama, we go up and out of our bodies. We leave our bodies. We disconnect our mind from our body, right? So anybody who, early in my life experience, I had a lot of trauma. I spent the vast majority of my time in my head, literally in my head. Everything's, how can I fix it? What's going to happen? How can I make myself safe? It's all going on here. It was almost like I felt like I was cut off from my head, like my head was there, but there was no connection for a long time from the head to the body. So when we start addressing some of our own triggers and some of the ways in which we are disconnected from our own bodies, we naturally and organically show the kids how to reconnect mind and body. Yeah? Does that make sense? So, and again, it's, in the past, nobody gave us a book and said, this is how you're going to raise your kid, right? There's definitely hasn't to date yet. Hopefully these conversations are the start of that. But there has not yet been a book written that says this is how you vibrationally educate your child, because they're a vibrational being first. But the truth is that we are all vibrational beings. We are all to some degree disconnected from the mental, or from our head to our bodies, mental body connection. We're all disconnected to one degree or another. I think that's why, as a collective, a lot of these souls are showing us that, we are disconnected. But the more we reconnect, the more we send out that vibration, and the more we send out that vibration, the more the kids simply don't reflect that separation back anymore. And I'm not saying that separation is only in the parents. It's like, you guys have enough people blaming and shaming and all that other kind of crap. It's like, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that there's not a person on this planet, to one degree or another, that is not disconnected from the mind body spirit, quite frankly. Yeah. And so we teach them to reintegrate, or to integrate themselves as we integrate ourselves. There is no integration of children without those around them integrating. I've never seen it, in 30 years, I've never seen it. That's why in the integration series, if you participate in something along those lines, you'll see that this is the practice. This is the practice over and over again. Yeah. So, so to answer your question in short, again, what's coming up? Where are the ways in which we're disconnected from mind to body? Yep. When we see that there's a disconnection, that disconnection is usually because of an old trauma pattern. And if we'll address that old trauma pattern, loving it, seeing what it is, seeing what age it might have happened at, giving ourselves some love and compassion around that. What ends up happening is we've integrated that and then just watch that what lessens in our kids is that mind body separation. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope that helps.
I think we're going to do this one. Let's see. I learned about the Presence Process book through one of your sessions, and I found it fascinating, and I'm currently going through the Presence Process. And I am wondering if you can please recommend other resources or books to read that is beneficial for emotional and spiritual growth. Thank you for everything.
No. I can't. So for a couple reasons, there are amazing books out there, and I'm sure you'll find other references because you're already in the energy of the presence process, so it'll naturally attract other things to you. So put that out to the universe, ask. But I just want to point something out here. Having gone through that process, I just finished it again. So I kind of have a tendency to cycle through it myself over and over again. One of the things somewhere in there that Michael Brown will say on the list of possible diversions is the mind will kick in and the mind will say, okay, well, this is nice, but something else will work better. And one of the things that Michael Brown says in that process is is the mind's a tricky little thing. It's like the mind is there for survival. The mind only knows what it knows. And so very often, even when something is going to transform us, what ends up happening is the mind will go, oh, well, why don't we look over here? Or why don't we check out something else over here? Or let's get more information. You might not need any more information, is all I'm suggesting. It's if the practice is just that, if you actually do that practice, I can guarantee it will be fairly uncomfortable. And I can also guarantee that at the end of that 10-week process, that you won't recognize what's taking place, so I'm really grateful that you've kind of delved into that process. And I would just suggest that you stay with it. You can get a lot more information, and that's great too. But whatever information you get, find whatever it is that works for you and stay with it. Yeah, because it's not so much the more information, it's the consistency of working with any process that helps to unwind. Because, yeah, more information is just that, more information. But we're trying to move from here all the way down to full embodiment. So it'll be the process, not the information that does it. Yeah.
All right, time for last words.
All right. Atarikiako, hold on a second. So there's a transformation happening, and it's happening right here, right now, all day, every day. Nobody's been left out of that transformation, regardless of what you perceive your daily circumstances to be. And it does require, no, this, it inspires change. We are changing. We are being altered. We are being asked to let go of some of our preconceived ideas about ourselves, about others, about the world in general, about what matters, what doesn't matter. And and there's this beautiful opportunity right now to sync up with that change. And we'll know that we are syncing up with that change as we begin to flow, begin to move into what shows up for us instead of back away from it. Yeah, as we step into it instead of step back, we'll know that we're more in that flow. And, you know, none of us is really going to look the same at the end of this year anyway, right? So, make yourselves as comfortable as possible. Be as easy on yourselves as we kind of navigate these times, and kind of set your sights on knowing that transformation is happening. Yeah, it's already something's working for us right now in a way that, quite frankly, just hasn't been available before. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lots of support. There's lots of support. Yeah. All right. Anything else, my dear? Oh, you're muted, Sharon.
Just wanted to remind everyone, if you're interested in the integration series or the New World Portal, do you want to finish that?
Sure. There's another integration series coming up on March, is it 5th, Sharon? Yep. Yeah, I think so. March 5th. It's going to be an AM session this time. We're finishing up the PM session here just in a couple weeks. The New World Portal is something you can jump into anytime. That's really all about consciousness. That's really all about inviting us to who we are in truth. And as far as I can tell, as we invite ourselves to who we are in truth, we see everybody else through that same lens, including our kids. Yeah, so we invite them to that as well. There's also, we're kind of in the last month of the mentorship as well. So my guess is we've got a couple months left, and then we'll have another 12 spots available for that 6-month mentorship if you guys are interested in that. So, all right. Lots of love, everybody. Thanks for showing up, and I'll see you next month. Bye.